What is going on, YouTube people? Welcome to another edition of the weekly sports card market update. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday / Christmas week. I was off all week from work. I am off most of this upcoming week from work, just relaxing, doing some odds and ends around the house. Did a day trip or two with the wife, but nothing super crazy planned. Just been getting things a little bit more organized around here as best as I possibly can. Hope Santa brought you everything that you were looking for underneath the tree. This past week, did you get anything cool card related? I did not, but that's mostly just because I pretty much buy everything immediately when I actually want it. But I didn't get anything super on the collectible side. Big gift was a new desk chair for the command center down here in the office. My old one was completely shot, so it was time to get that upgraded. My wife's big gift was Lego Rivendell, which is what I got her. She has been slowly working her way through that. As we speak, we were doing our annual rewatch of the movies, and she is building while we are watching. Before we dive into this episode of the Weekly Sports Card Market Update, shout out to ComC, sponsor of today's video and all the weekly sports card market updates. If you're not using ComC, there has not been a better time. Fresh pulls are back in our lives once again. I know I keep talking about it. I've got to get a box of stuff packaged up and shipped out to ComC. I keep putting it off because I keep having new boxes coming in to rip, and I just want them all bundled up in one package, but eventually I need to bite the bullet and send some stuff off. I recently did a submission with the SGC grading as well to test that out. It's only been about a week or so, maybe a week and a half, so we'll see how long those cards take to grade. I picked up 2 Game of Thrones autos, so no better time than to jump in the ComC than to start off this new year. It has been a slow news week. Not a lot has been happening, which isn't super crazy. That's to be expected on a holiday week, though we are approaching the 3-year anniversary of the Fanatics Topps marriage. Happened right before the new year a few years ago. One thing that did happen was Topps announced Barry Bonds is back this past week. This came out right before Christmas, that he is going to be in Topps 2025 product. I have to assume, at least off the rip, this is just Series 1. We'll see if he's in other stuff or not. And the throwback this year on the 35th anniversary to 1990 is a design that I know very well. This one, when I was in peak powers of sports card collecting back in the day as a 9/10-year-old, ripping packs of 90 Topps, and I just have very fond memories for this design, as I am sure, given the demographics that most viewers on this channel do. This is the first time since 2017 Bonds will have a pack pulled auto. So we'll see what these sell for. I am sure it will be inflated. I am sure it will be crazy if he's in Topps Chrome as well. Remember, there was those Griffey Topps Chrome autos from this past year that everyone lost their mind for. Barry Bonds has a very big following, very collectible player. Will be very interested to see what these go for off the rip. The only other really super crazy news this week, and it's not even really card related, I did a video on it yesterday, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it here. PSA announced that they are going to be offering cleaning and pressing services for comics. A lot of you do not seem to understand, judging by the comments on yesterday's video. Comics and cards are not the same thing. It's okay for them to offer this in one category and not another. Like it or not, at least a vocal portion of the sports card / TCG community is anti-card cleaning. On comics, it's an accepted practice. That's what it all comes down to. Comics, this is just the way that it is. This is 100% allowable. Within degrees, there's certain things that aren't. In cards, it's not. And essentially, the community decided that. We'll see if that changes over time, but as of right now, that is the world that we live in. So no major change on the card side of things here. Speaking of comics, I'll throw this in here. I will be doing at least a 1 or 2 day live stream event with a friend of the channel / just friend in general, Swagglehas. He is putting together kind of an end of the year live stream extravaganza to do a big comic chat. One of those will be tonight, Sunday night. I believe part 2 is on Monday night. I am not sure if that will be co-streamed to this channel or not, but you'll be able to find me at minimum over on Swag's channel, talking all things grading comics and just kind of where we're at and things. So if you enjoy the comic talk, if you're watching me, you're probably also subscribed to Swags. You will see that live pop up later this evening. My local show, I went to one yesterday up in Cleveland. It's one that I don't typically attend often. It was packed. I mean, packed. It was like in a little event center. Way too many people in there for the size of the building. It was a pretty decent sized show. Probably about 100 tables, maybe 125 tables. I have my local Canton show today that I am probably walking around as you are all listening to this. The one thing that I noticed more than ever, and this is, like I said, this is on the local show level. In the past, there was basically 1 or 2 dealers that were selling Pokemon cards. That is not the case anymore. Pokemon is everywhere at my local shows now. There are multiple dealers selling just Pokemon only. There are multiple dealers that are kind of splitting it up and doing a little bit of Pokemon and a little bit of non-Pokemon or sports cards. It is absolutely crazy. And the hottest thing in cards right now, and it's not even out yet, you're going to be hearing about it in YouTube thumbnails if you haven't already. Prismatic Evolutions, the new Pokemon set, comes out in about 2 weeks. I think it's January 17th is the official date. Prices, hype, everyone is losing their mind for this set. Retail scalpers are salivating in the wings, getting ready to track their local vendor when they're stocking their Targets and Walmarts to be able to raid the shelves for these things and instantly flip them left, right, and center. So buckle up. It is going to be a wild year for TCG. We'll talk more about those sorts of things in an upcoming 2025 look ahead video. Let's go ahead and dive into market movers. Link in the description down below. If you want to play around with charts and graphs on your own, you can find a coupon code down there for 20% off for life and get a free couple of weeks on the house to check out the product and see if you like it. Prism Football continues to be the belle of the ball. Boxes staying pretty strong, just over $1,000 for a regular hobby box, just under or just right at $2K for first off the line. I saw some singles today at the show. That's the first time I've seen 2024 Prism in the flesh. Nice looking cards. I'll be honest. Like I've stated in other videos, I do like the design of 2024 Prism. I'm not paying the prices on singles for 2024 Prism. I will gladly wait for a very, very, very long time. And if you needed a stark little reminder of that, here are 2023 Prism Silvers for the quarterbacks. I was just kind of curious to see how things had kind of gone throughout the season so far with the 2023 class. Spoilers, not great. This is going back 180 days to July 1st. CJ Stroud down 57%. Bryce Young, 54%. Anthony Richardson, 70%. Will Levis, 87%. Yikes. Keep these prices in mind for a second. These are for PSA 10 copies. CJ Stroud is the leader in the clubhouse at 375 for a PSA 10. Anthony Richardson, 140. Bryce Young, 112 Will Levis, $30. Let's look at singles raw for 2024 Prism Silvers. Jaden Daniels, $530. Now, we're in release window period. Retail has not hit yet. We are still in the flush out period. None of these prices will hold. But it just keep this in mind if you're walking around a show or perusing eBay. Resist the FOMO. These will get cheaper. Even if you don't want to wait till next season, just give it like a month. Wait for the retail waves to hit at minimum. At least if you're chasing silvers. Bo Nix, $350. Drake May, $285. Caleb Williams, $235. Michael Penix, $180. JJ McCarthy, who hasn't even played a snap, $175. So a pretty deep quarterback class overall. Then we drop down into the position players. It cuts almost in half, where it drops down to Brock Bowers, and then it drops quite a bit more to Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison being the fourth most expensive wide receiver is probably not something a lot of people had pegged before the season started. Now, we'll see where all this stuff settles out, but I can guarantee you most of these will be a lot cheaper 1 year from now than they are today. Last year at this time, it was Stroud mania. Now look at it today, nobody cares. He is sub $400 right now at $375 and has been an absolute disaster this season. The Texans in general, their defense has been really good. Obviously, Nico Collins missed a big chunk of time in the middle of the season, and it kind of derailed things a little bit. Then Tank Dell's gotten hurt. Stephon Diggs got hurt with a big offseason acquisition. We'll see if he can do anything in the playoffs to rebound value at all, but as of right now, very rough season out of Stroud. I mean, Bryce Young is probably playing the best out of these guys right now, as crazy as that sounds. Anthony Richardson, I saw that may not even play this week in week 17. He just does not look like a good quarterback. And Will Levis is absolute garbage. He is probably going to be your new backup du jour, floating around the league for the next handful of years until maybe he gets a second chance at a job via injury or someone just absolutely desperate. But I don't see it panning out for him either. Spoilers, a good chunk of these guys are probably going to be the same way. We'll see what happens. Keep an eye on it once graded supply starts to hit the market on the football guys. Switching over to basketball. We are now past Christmas Day. Christmas Day is typically the NBA's kind of coming out party for the season. There were NFL games on Christmas Day, but I did see the NBA had a pretty big increase in viewership over last year. And the NBA games on Christmas Day were, for the most part, all pretty good. Highlighted by Wemby v. Knicks in Madison Square Garden. We'll talk about Wemby's prices specifically here in just a second. What I was just kind of curious about is how prices have moved to start the season on the higher price guys. This is going back 90 days on Prism Silvers. Just kind of quickly scrolling through this list. Luka out for at least a month plus. Sucks. That injury has just happened, so we'll see how that kind of affects his prices. It's only been a couple of days since that news has come down. He has slipped under $1,000 for his silver prism. Anthony Edwards down about 20%. A lot of hype coming into the year, coming off of last year's playoff run. Timberwolves just have not been good. That cat trade has seemed to completely derail their season. Wemby, down about 10%, but actually ticking up lately. We'll look at his chart specifically here in just a second. He started the season and no one was really talking about him. And then over the last week or two, a couple of weeks actually, he had that 40-point game about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And since then, he has been putting up some just crazy numbers and stuff. And it feels like people are kind of filtering back to them as supply has kind of flushed itself out through the market, at least on Prism Silvers. SGA, one of the leaders in the clubhouse for MVP, up ever so slightly. Jason Tatum basically staying flat. so far. LaMelo Ball up a decent amount. He's actually having a pretty good year, even though the Hornets are absolute garbage. Ja Morant down quite a bit. More on him in a second. Devin Booker, a very injury-plagued season. Paolo Banchero staying flat, which is impressive considering he hasn't played. And the Magic have just been absolutely playing great basketball, even with them getting completely decimated with injuries. Karl Anthony Towns down slightly. He's actually having a pretty strong start with the Knicks. Can't play defense, but his offensive numbers are insane to start the year. Cade Cunningham, the Pistons have been a little bit frisky to start out the season. Chet Holmgren's been hurt for a decent chunk. Evan Mobley, my boy, up 30%. Absolutely torched the Nuggets on Friday night, just draining threes. I think they scored a franchise record points for an away game in a crazy high-scoring game against the Nuggets and the Joker. Jaylen Brown down a decent chunk. Jalen Brunson down a decent chunk. We got all the Jalen's in a row. It's kind of weird the way that worked out. Jalen Williams up slightly. Tyrese Maxey down a decent chunk as the Sixers have been absolutely all over the place. My boy, Donovan Mitchell, up about 30% as the Cavs in general have been playing extremely well. Zion down 56%. Yikes. We'll look at that chart specifically on its own here in a second. Who else do we got on here that is notable? Tyrese Halliburton not having a great season overall. That Sixers, or the Pacers team rather, just feels like something is off with that entire squad. They're playing okay, but they don't have the same running around like idiots that they used to have. De'Aaron Fox seeing a little bit of a run up. Trae Young down ever so slightly, even though the Hawks have actually been very frisky. Jalen Johnson, one of the breakout stars of the season so far. I believe he dropped 28 today in a game that was played earlier in the day on Saturday afternoon against the Heat. I did not catch any of that game, but I just looked at the stat line really quickly. So definitely some prices moving up and down on some guys. Nothing totally cratering outside of Zion and to a lesser degree Ja. There are a few other ones in here that are in the deep red, but it does not feel... I guess my overall take here is the NBA season to this point, at least card price wise, outside of the guys that you would expect, just does not seem super volatile one way or the other. The guys that are tanking in price, it feels justifiable. Like Zion should be down 50%. You know what I mean? Victor, who's playing pretty good, his prices aren't crashing even though a ton of supply continues to come to market. Jason Tatum, who is basically playing up to expectations, is flat. Luka, who's actually kind of having a season, down ever so slightly. Now he's hurt, so we'll see what happens there. But it just feels way less swingy so far this year, price-wise, than it has in previous years. The guys that have seen big gains, Mitchell, Mobley, SGA, those sorts of guys, Jalen Johnson, a big chunk of those guys were pretty cheap to begin with. If you look at the Cavs guys, Jalen Johnson, and a few of the others, they didn't have a ton of built-in equity in their prices. They've kind of already peaked and retracted back in some cases. And now it feels a little bit more earned. It just feels like the NBA right now, at least from a card market perspective, is a little bit more stable. Now, not everybody's like that. We mentioned Zion and Ja earlier. I wanted to pull up their specific charts. This is over the last 90 days. Zion silvers are now down to under $200. Ja is sitting just under $400. Memphis is actually playing pretty good. I did see he hurt his shoulder the other night on Twitter, but I'm not sure how serious that actually is. Zion is just an absolute train wreck. This card will probably go substantially lower. It is absolutely wild when you think what this sold for at one point in time. At the peak, a Zion Silver Prism was over $6,000. That was late December 2020. $5,000 to $6,000 for a Zion Silver Prism is now down to $180. Ja, not much better. That card peaked out at a little over $4K Oh, actually 5K. Got all the way up to 5K in that same time period, late December 2020, early January 2021, basically the peak of everything. And now under 400 bucks in a PSA 10 silver. I think, myself included, we kind of forget how nutty things were at the absolute peak of the market. Like, when you really think back and let those numbers marinate in for a second, that a Zion Silver Prism was going for $6,000. And now it is $180 card. That stuff is just absolutely wild. I always remember having big debates on the Zion Ja thing. I was always on Team Ja. Now, that you would have got smoked on that too. Don't get me wrong. He's had his host of issues, but Ja now way outselling Zion in regards to pricing on cards across the board. Zion just cannot seem to get it together, cannot catch a break health-wise. Ja has his health issues as well and his off-the-court issues. Let's look at Wemby stuff really quickly here. This is over the last 180 days, so this takes us back into summer. I could go back further, but it gets ugly when you get earlier because you're still getting his people trying to figure out what the price of his card's going to be because the inventory just started hitting the market in like March and April. So these things were selling for like $3,000 out of the gate or some stupid number. Basically what happened is over the summer, they settled in at about $1,000. That's essentially what they were going for, give or take 10% here or there. They would creep up to around 1,100 and then come back down again. As we led into the season, they got a little closer to the $1,200 mark. They never got quite there, more like 1.1K, a little over that. And then, as we always see, the season started and things dipped down. Like I said, people were paying attention to the NFL. He was doing stuff, but he wasn't like making the waves and making the news essentially. Bottomed all the way out in the mid 600s, just at the beginning of December, right after Thanksgiving. And if I shorten this chart up, you can see overall he's down 25%. But if we look at just his last 30 days, he's actually up about 5.7%. So he is up slightly from those 650s, up about $100. This is chalking it in at 700 over his last 30 days. So creeping back up again. And like I said, if you zoom out on this chart, you can see that hook kind of coming on back up. And like I said, I think a lot of that was sparked by he has had some just absolute pinball-like numbers over the last couple of weeks. And people are kind of starting to be like, oh yeah, Wemby. I saw a Silver Prism at the show today. What did they have it stickered at? 800. They had it stickered at a lot of the prices that, like I said, this is a show I don't normally go to. Pricing at this one, and it was a lot of different dealers that I don't typically see. There was definitely some of my regulars that I see on a normal basis, but some ones that I don't, that were more Cleveland area dealers, and pricing was wildly out of whack on stuff, like crazy amounts over comps. That's why I didn't buy anything at the show. That was part of the reason why. One, I didn't see a whole lot that grabbed me. I almost bought some sealed Pokemon stuff, but nothing really grabbed me, so I steered clear of it. But yeah, Wemby Silver is getting a little bit of buzz here as we head into the new year. Let's close things out, taking a quick little peek at baseball. We've been kind of tracking the box prices on Topps Chrome Update and Bowman Draft for the better part of a month now. I wanted to give another peek in on that. Most of the big debut patches have now been pulled. A couple more were pulled this week. We are obviously still hunting for the Skeens, and wax prices continue to climb. Jumbo boxes are flirting with $900 now. If you get tempted, go back and look at the jumbo box that I opened and then rethink your life and don't do it. Regular hobby boxes are creeping on $500 now. Bowman Draft has settled in as well. Jumbos, or hobby in this case, are settling in at about $550, and super jumbos are settling in at about $700. both down a decent percentage from their initial release, though super jumbo or jumbos have ticked up slightly the last couple of days. We'll see if that's just noise or if that's real. As I stated, and I don't remember it was last week or the week before, at some point draft is going to get too cheap, and it might be a decent play to buy and hold, as Bowman Draft is one of the better sealed products in the sports side to just throw in a closet and forget about and hope one or two of the players breaks out. But Bowman Draft definitely did not have the hype behind it this year like Topps Chrome Update did. On the baseball front, we should probably be getting a sneak peek at Topps Series 1 design for 2025. We don't have that yet, and that will be an interesting one to keep our eyes on, because do keep in mind, this is the year that Topps gets the basketball license, so that would potentially be the design that we would see for Topps Chrome Basketball, assuming that they carry it over, which will be out later this year. We're going to wrap things up there. Everyone enjoy your new year. Full week of content planned this week. I already got some stuff in the can. I have not recorded yet. We'll be doing a look back video at some of the bigger stories of 2024. And I usually do that through the lens of my content. Essentially what I've done in the past is just kind of look at all the stories that have happened, all the content that I produced, and which videos were the most popular, and just kind of go through in order, looking at the big popular stories that resonated with all you, the viewers, throughout this year. My best pickups of 2024 video has been recorded for like a week and a half now. That video will be up at some point in time this week. And then I want to do a look ahead video in regards to, making some predictions or just kind of talking about what 2025 could bring to the card world. I have another Marvel box opening video already recorded. I have no idea when that'll be up. It might be a week plus before you all see that, but that's just a preview of some stuff that is in the hopper for this upcoming week to close out the year and start a new year. Everybody enjoy the week. Hopefully you have a little bit lighter schedule at work, or you can enjoy some free time with some fam, watch some football games, and enjoy spending time with the family and loved ones during this holiday season. We will catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.